Top stories on New Year's Eve. Crowds gather in key locations as Hong Kong prepares to usher in the new year. Thick morning smog reduces visibility in many parts of the city. And Russia and Ukraine trade missile attacks as hostilities escalate.
People began flocking to the harbour front in Tsim Sha Tsui since early this evening to get the best spots for the much-anticipated fireworks display that will usher in 2024. The pyrotechnics return for the first time since 2018, and the extravaganza is said to be the biggest and longest fireworks show the city has ever seen. Metal barriers were set up to prevent revelers from falling into the water. Police were deployed to maintain order and give directions to partygoers. Across the harbour, tents were set up in Tema Park in Admiralty for people to admire the fireworks. In the city's premier entertainment spot of Lan Kwai Fong in Central, crowds began streaming in from early evening. Police installed roadside banners to provide directions as many roads have been closed. And Thea Zhen, director of the Lan Kwai Fong Association, expressed great satisfaction because of full reservations for bars and restaurants. On the eastern side of Hong Kong, a pop-up market with around 100 stalls was set up along the Kwun Tong Promenade for people to celebrate New Year's Eve. But cooked food stalls were unable to operate for a few hours today due to electrical problems, which also occurred yesterday. This stall operator, who sells grilled skewers and clay pot rice, lost about $10,000 yesterday because his food was spoiled. But he expected to offset his losses and make a profit tonight. At the West Kowloon Cultural District, revelers laid out picnic mats as they waited to say goodbye to 2023. Those returning home after welcoming 2024 will be able to take MTR trains, which will operate overnight. KMB and Citybus have put on extra services, and the trams will not charge anyone until 1 a.m. Maisie Mock, Cable News. The smog that blanketed Nam Chen this morning was so thick that high-rise buildings disappeared from view. It was the same in other parts of the city. At the central harbour front, Victoria Harbour was obscured. The low visibility was blamed on the lack of wind.
So under the light winds, it will be difficult for the air particulates, including either dust or water droplets suspended in the air, to disperse. The visibility is a measure of how far that we can see the things on the horizontal perspective. Normally, the visibility, when there is no other meteorological conditions, the visibility can reach over 10 kilometers. But this morning, due to light winds, the visibility once dropped to around 3,000 meters at the harbor. So when the visibility is around 3,000 meters, it means that the objects are farther than 3,000 meters away will be blurry or difficult to see.
According to Hong Kong's Health Risk-Based Air Pollution Index, most places were classified as moderate today, but index for Tuen Mun and Tung Chung was high. It was even worse in Tsuen Wan, where the reading was very high. Residents in the district were advised to reduce outdoor physical activities. But there is a silver lining.
As we expect, there is a surge of the northeast monsoon that is going to reach us tonight. And then our local winds is going to turn from light winds to become moderate. So when the winds are going to pick up, we expect that the visibility would improve gradually.
16 children who are part of a group monitoring the rights of youngsters chanted that the government has not tackled cross-generational poverty. In its year-end report card, the Children's Rights Association gave the SAR a failing score of 21 out of 100 for efforts to lift children out of poverty. It's the 17th year in a row that the government has not been given a pass mark. Underprivileged children assess the government on 10 aspects. One of them, initiatives to solve cross-generational poverty, did not receive even a single mark. The Society for Community Organization, which oversees the children's group, said the subsidies provided are not enough.
The government, they don't release the poverty report anymore, so it's very hard to warn how is the situation of the poverty in Hong Kong. Many children, they need to resources and subsidy to study more because they cannot catch up with the curriculum after the online classes.
Another aspect, improving living conditions for children, earned the government 5 marks out of 10, its highest grade in the assessment. Lan Wai Cheng from the Children's Rights Association stressed the importance of improving living conditions. She said water leakage in her tin-sheeted house disturbs her sleep and studies. The government was urged to increase the minimum wage and provide poor students with free meals. Maisie Mock, Cable News.
Russia has launched a fresh wave of attacks against Ukraine, targeting the city of Kharkiv with missiles and drones. Residential buildings, hotels, and medical facilities were hit, injuring 28 people. The attacks came a day after Ukraine shelled Belgorod in western Russia, killing 24 people. The escalation in hostilities began 2 days ago when Russia bombed several targets in Ukraine. At least 41 deaths were reported in Dnipro and other cities in the biggest missile raid since Moscow invaded Ukraine nearly 2 years ago. At the United Nations Security Council, there were calls for an end to the conflict.
There is only one way to stop the human suffering and destruction caused by the war, to stop the war itself. This decision can be made immediately by just one person in the Kremlin: to cease aggression, to withdraw troops from the territory of Ukraine, and to prepare for what usually follows the end of war: accountability and reparations.
Ukraine and Russia blame each other for stepping up the hostilities. Sachin Kadpi, Cable News.
Tens of thousands of Palestinians are pouring into the already overcrowded southernmost part of Gaza to flee Israeli attacks. But conditions are dire, with food and water scarce. There are fears that they may have to move out again soon after Israel vowed to seize Gaza's border with Egypt. The Palestinian death toll rose to 21,700 as Israel continued its offensive following a Hamas raid in October. Palestinians, meanwhile, welcomed South Africa's move to go to the International Court of Justice to accuse Israel of genocide. Israel rejected the allegation.
Israel is committing 3 terrible war crimes against the people in Gaza: the war crime of genocide, the war crime of collective punishment, and the war crime of ethnic cleansing. And it is high time to hold Israel responsible and accountable in front of the international community. Israel cannot conduct genocide against the Palestinian people, killing and injuring more than 80,000 Palestinians in less than 3 months, and not be accountable to international law.
There were mixed reactions following the heaviest snowfall in 40 years in the South Korean capital. Some motorists in Seoul were annoyed because the snow caused minor disruptions in certain places, but for many residents, it was a chance to enjoy a white winter. People took the opportunity to go sledding. Others had fun building a snowman or other snow sculptures. And there was the inevitable snowball fight. Over 10 centimeters of snow fell on Seoul yesterday, and more is expected as the city and the rest of the country welcome the new year. For visitors from overseas, the snow was a bonus.
It's amazing. I love it. It's something different. Yeah, it's really good. I've never experienced something like this. First time seeing snow. So yeah, I'm just loving it. It's amazing.